If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.
People who caught your partner red-handed while they were cheating on you with others. What happened? Went to house, were split up but still very much married. Had been working on the marriage, trying to get back together. Wanted to see kids and say goodnight. No one home. Sat in front of house. Her car comes down road, goes by me, driveway, keeps going. I start car and follow. They are gone. Speeding. I go around a couple of blocks and back to house. This was before cell phones. I get there, lights on, they are inside, WTF. She must have lured me around the block then hustled back home. Why? I knock on door. No answer. Knock harder. She comes to door, acting all sweet and innocent. No explanation for car tricks. I go in, see kids, say goodnights, etc. I ask again what's going on, why isn't the car in the garage? I get a story like, something about garage door problems. I decide to go fix door, it's still my house. Get to basement, split level, go into garage, there is my best friend standing there. Took about 3 seconds for the whole things to register. The look on his face said it all. I grabbed him and started throwing him around, roughing him up, tossing him against the walls, stuff like that. I had 130 pounds on the guy. I was a buff 6 feet 1 inch 270 and he was a scrawny 5 feet 9 inches 140. Threw him around about 10 minutes, wife not yet ex was screaming, calling cops. I went outside and waited on the trunk of my car for them. They drove up, I told them what happened. One went in and got the other side. Best friend, was in there whining about getting his ass kicked. Cop looked at me, looked at him, and asked him, what did you expect? Priceless. They let me go and told him to get the fuck out of my house. I left. But 3 hours later, after simmering and stewing, I went back. Around midnight, I snuck up to the garage door. Best friend's car was in there. I went to door, rang bell, not yet ex came to door and told me to leave. I told her to either open the door or get away from it because either way I was coming in. She moved, I kicked in the door just like a fucking superhero. Roamed the house looking for best friend while not yet ex screamed and called cops again. Found the little sack of shit hiding from me in my closet. Pulled him out, threw him around the room for about 3 minutes, then went back outside to wait for the cops again. This time they let me go again but told me they would bust my ass if I came back. I was liberated that night. It was the first time I could finally clearly see who she was and how over the marriage was. I have never looked back. About 5 or 6 years ago I ended my 4-year relationship to my high school sweetheart. I came back from basic training about 2 months before she cheated on me. She was also in the military. It was a late night, about 1 a.m. and I was just having this horrible feeling. Earlier in the night every time I walked by my computer she would quickly exit out of what she was doing. So when she finally went to bed I jumped on, I had a gut feeling something was going on, we'll go into this at the end. Anyways, I checked my internet history. Didn't see anything out of the ordinary at first and closed it down. As I walked away a spark went off in my little dumbass mind. MSN Messenger. I ran back to my computer, checked MSN. I was still logged in. Something about me at the time was that I would always keep my MSN history saved. I started going down through my logs. I noticed that she was talking to another girl earlier in the evening. A good friend to both of us. I started to read down through and the further I read the more my heart started to rip out of my chest. This is basically what it said. Friend, so does he know? Girlfriend, he knows that he keeps calling me but doesn't know I had sex with him. Now I read this 3 times trying to make sure I read it right. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I ran into the bedroom, kicked the door open and just started yelling. I still can remember her fucking face. She denied it all. So I showed her the logs and she still tried to deny it. I asked for her engagement ring back. She gave it. Grabbed a long sleeve shirt and threw it on, went to door and acted like I threw the ring into the field. In reality I let that bitch slip down my sleeve. That baby was eventually pawned. I then took off to my cousin's house an hour away only to have to return to work in 4 hours. I couldn't be around her. The next day I went back for some of my things and grabbed the guy's number out of her phone. He was also in the military, and about 20 years older. Called his number and to my surprise the answering machine picked up. Guess whose voice was on it? His wife and kids. I immediately left the following message: "Hey asshole, I just wanna thank you for fucking my fiance. It's also nice to know you are married and have kids. You're a great role model." I had one mission after this, and that was to fuck as many of her friends as possible. Managed to snag 4 of them. My ex soon started to date him shortly after. But I met up with her about a month after they were dating and sweet-talked her into screwing me. I rage-fucked the shit out of her. 2 months later she called me crying saying he cheated on her. All I did was laugh my fucking ass, told her to go fuck herself and peaced the fuck out. I'm now married and have 3 of my own kids. Things happen for a reason, even if at the time they may seem like the worst moments of your life. I should have caught on to her cheating ways when the following happened first. She took a 2-hour ride south and wouldn't let me go with her. Found out later she met up with him. I randomly seen text message from him telling her he missed her. Acting pervy. I just ignored it. We started to argue. We never really had an argument beforehand. On a side note, when I was moving my things, her stepdad called me and told me he was gonna beat my ass if I didn't finish getting my things out within the next hour. I don't think she told him the truth. So I got everything out, and before I left I went into the middle of our bedroom, picked the bed out of the way. Looked at my nice shiny hardwood floor my dad and I just put in a month earlier. Grabbed a crowbar and ripped up 6 pieces from the middle of it. Never really caught her in the act, but I had to make an account and share. Joke as you will, I lived in a single wide trailer 10 years ago. Had been married about 8 years of that 10, and it was not going well. Sleeping in separate rooms, shit like that. Going to counseling, which was just refereed yelling, and I had became suicidal, and full of anger, and somewhat unstable. So I come home one Saturday afternoon, about 4 hours sooner than I said I would be home, and there was another car in the driveway. As I walked towards the front door, past the bedroom windows, I heard noise of rowdy fucking in progress. I still am very foggy, cloudy on what happened, or how I did what I did, but what happened was essentially this. Went and got the 5-gallon gas can for the lawn mower, and a road flare, and drenched the other end of the house. Opposite of where the fucking was occurring, master bedroom and kitchen and main doors and one end, 3 smaller bedrooms at other end, the end I was working in. Once the gas can was empty, I lit the flare and threw it in the room on the end of the house from the kitchen. That end of the house made a whomp sound and then fire was everywhere. I walked into the master bedroom where they were fucking gently by then, and while they tried to get in a more becoming position, I simply said, "House is on fire, just a fee." By now the fire was at the front door leaving the kitchen door, closest to the master bedroom. I exited the premises, walked to the end of the drive and laid down in the grass and started laughing. But it wasn't normal laughing, it was screw loose, marble lost laughing. When the fire trucks and cops arrived, they found me and put me in an ambulance, strapped to the gurney, because I was spouting crazy shit towards my wife, and the burning single-wide trailer, and had torn most of my clothes off. The trailer burned completely. I got 8 months in the nut house, with a sort of halfway house set up for several years, supervised, and now my life is much better. I got divorced, irreconcilable differences, LOL, and met someone who is okay with a person that has some issues. But I'm 2 years out, unsupervised now, and getting better every day. I'm glad I didn't shotgun my mouth over all of that. Life, it goes on. Yes, it does. I was 21, and was dating this girl for about 2 years. It was a rocky relationship to begin with, and it was partially my fault for dealing with her constant bullshit for so long. We worked together, which I assume didn't make things better. Hindsight is 20/20. One night, we had plans to hang out after I got off of work, so I called her a few times only to get her voicemail. She had just moved into a new apartment with her brother, so I assumed that she was preoccupied with doing things around the place. How little did I know the things that were being done. So, I went home, washed up, and headed over there. It hit the top of the stairs and saw that her front door was opened about 4 inches. Now, it was around 10 p.m. at the time, so it got me worried. After a few seconds hesitation, I slowly opened the door to a pitch-black apartment. I called out her name a few times to no response. This is where I started to worry. Not that it was unlike her to be so aloof to leave her door open, but there was something in the air that just didn't seem right. So, I slowly approached her bedroom door and gave it a soft rap as I softly said her name. To my surprise, she responded. I felt immediately relieved that she hadn't been cut to pieces by some serial rapist, so I instinctively opened the door only to do an emotional 180, wishing that she had been cut to pieces by some serial rapist. I walked in on her in bed with one of our mutual friends, and one of the guys I'd least expected from. From here on was kind of a blur. I vaguely remember yelling at her, the words "leave me," then I threw whatever was in the glass on her nightstand in her face. Judging from the wince of pain she made, it was orange juice. That prompted the douchebag in bed with her to stand on the bed and lunge at me. Now, this part one to remember. Everything was in slow motion, and I turned into Neo from the Matrix. I saw him drop his shoulder, then straight right came right at my face. I couldn't have been any more Mayweather if I had tried, as I dipped out of the way of his punch and landed the stiffest right hook I've ever landed. His knees buckled and he fell into my chest, and he immediately began pouring blood from his eyebrow. I threw him off me and left. I heard later that I broke his eye socket and his eye would still bleed in the shower a month later. Luckily I didn't do any long-term damage. I decided to get really drunk that night and stupidly drove home. The next morning I got a phone call from the police department asking whole incident and if I would turn myself in the next day. I complied. The worst part, other than that piece of trash I was with cheating on me with a friend and going to the cops after I broke his face, was having to tell my parents that I was going to be arrested. I told my mom, and she was upset, but then I had to call my dad at his work, which was terrifying. One of the best parts of this story was when I finished telling my dad what had happened. He was silent for what felt like 5 minutes but was likely only 5 seconds. The first words out of his mouth were, "Wait, so you didn't hit her?" My dad was an awesome guy, and I think he realized that chewing my head off would only make things worse. Also, when I was in making my statement to the police, the office doing the interview was a huge dick and said, "You can't just go around hitting people blah blah blah," to which I said, "If you found your wife in bed with another guy, wouldn't you have a similar reaction?" Of course, like a true asshole, his response was, "Of course not." Again, after my dad heard him say that, he picked up the picture of the guy the first punched, laughed, and said, "I'm proud of you." Not much after that other than court. Pretty uneventful since I had no priors and the asshole friend didn't show up. Got a year probation, and would do it all again if I had the chance. There was a girl I had gone to high school with. She and I had a huge group of mutual friends, and for some reason we all hit this hyper-drama of all the guys in the group falling in love with the girls in the group and the girls all playing hard to get. It was high school, what can I say? The girl and I decide that we are above that and start hanging out exclusively, and some time later we realize we are dating. We end up going to the same college, carpooling together, and working at the same part-time job, spending pretty much every waking hour together, literally. She really loses touch with her friends, while I am able to still keep in touch with my friends. She ultimately ends up losing most of her friends and I become worried she will always be known as Zidane01's girlfriend. We end up meeting this new group of people to hang out with, and she starts really hitting it off with this one guy. I actually encourage her to go hang out with him, since I felt it was healthy for her to have her own set of friends. One night we are hanging out, and she says she wants to go home early. I say okay, as her to call me when she gets home, which she does. Only this time, she hangs up really abruptly and she was really short with me. It rubbed me the wrong way, and I start thinking to myself that I fucked up and her leaving early was a red flag for me fucking up. So I call her back. No response. I call her maybe a handful more times. Still no response. I text her a couple of messages asking her if everything is alright. An hour or so passes before I get a drunk call from her telling me I should go to bed. I hear a bunch of people laughing in the background. She hangs up on me, and I drive to her house. Mind you, it's about 2 a.m. at this point. Her car is not at her house, and I get this sinking feeling in my gut. I knew exactly where she was. I race about 35 minutes over to the dude's house and her car is outside. I bang on the door and his roommate lets me in and nods for me to go upstairs. As I get to the top of the stairs, the dude walks out of a room, shirtless, on the phone and says what's up to me. I keep walking, and find myself standing in the doorway of a room, with my ex-girlfriend's bra and undershirt on the floor. I think I yell something, but it doesn't matter, I feel an emotional javelin pierce me through the heart. A million little daggers begin to poke me in the stomach, and all I can hear is the girl demanding to know why I am there. She grabs her temples, as though she had been knocked out and reiterates her question, trying to play the confused one. I leave, and cuss everyone out as I exit the apartment. Not my classiest of moments, but hey, I felt like I had nothing else to lose. We spend the next few weeks trying to talk it out, trying to find out where we went wrong. But something keeps telling me that the relationship is over, forever. I was devastated for a few weeks. I don't think I've ever been so emotional, for so long, in my life. Looking back, I needed to have life kick me in the balls, because afterwards I ended up meeting my fiancée and the woman of my dreams. So I got a story about a guy the first used to work with, who was engaged to marry his high school GF. They really didn't date too much in high school, because he was a senior and she was a freshman. He's a arrogant rich kid by the way, and she was a pretty, sweet girl. Anyway, this guy decides to start a real estate company after failing to graduate college. So in 2008, he borrows some money from his dad, gets engaged, and then proceeds to lose the money hand over fist during the housing bubble. As his investment properties start getting foreclosed on, and his business partners become increasingly disgruntled, it soon becomes clear that his fairytale wedding on a beach in a third world country might not work out so well. So late one night, I get a phone call. It's the girl's father, trying to locate the girl. The girl and the guy had been downtown drinking with friends, and the guy had abruptly called the wedding off and stormed out into the night. The reason being he went to the restroom and came back to see her making out with their gay next-door neighbor. She had been pressured into it by their drunken friends, and had herself been curious on what it would be like to make out with a gay guy. Anyway, his business partners decide to kick him out of the company that same weekend, while he's distracted with the foreclosure and his broken engagement. So it was interesting to see that fall from grace. Later, the girl comes by to clear some of their stuff out of the office, when she lays this gem on me. She was relieved to be out of the engagement, but she couldn't get over how unfair it was that the guy got so upset. See, she thought it was incredibly unfair, because a few weeks ago at a party, she has walked in on the guy blowing the same gay neighbor. Don't ask me to explain any of this, I just report the facts. She wanted a few days to get her head straight. She had recently moved out after 3 years, so I said anything you want. After 2 days of no communication, I couldn't take it anymore. I bought her favorite flowers, and drove an hour out of town to buy her cotton candy, her favorite thing. I still remember how hard my heart was beating for the sheer fact of how much I loved her and wanted to marry this girl. I show up at her place ready to profess my undying love, and I'm greeted by some dude coming out her door with his shirt off. My heart stopped. I said, "Who the fuck are you?" He said the exact same thing. I was ready to fight based on instinct. He said he had no idea and literally grabbed his shit and left. There's more to it, but that's the gist. Then she came out. She said it was my fault and I didn't prove I loved her enough. I'm sure a lot of you in this thread went through the very next thing. My heart sunk. I was crushed. I said a few things, started mumbling, couldn't focus on anything to say. I felt the tears coming and didn't want her to see. I walked out, got in my car, bawled all the way home, drank a bottle of vodka and drunk dialed her mom to say goodbye. We were close, called my mom, and eventually passed out on my kitchen floor in a literal puddle of tears. It sucked. I'd not wish that emptiness on my worst enemy. Being betrayed, losing your best friend, lover, all in the span of seconds. I'll never forget that ache. Woof.